Hello everybody, welcome back to the Final Fantasy X HD Remaster. I'm going to sneak in my Blitzball team building guide here. I'm sure not everybody will agree with my choices here, but this is what I did this time and I was extremely happy. Basically, I hire Wedge right away, and I don't really play any games though until we get to Guadosalam. But again, I at least pick up Wedge here. I usually only hire him for like a game. Because I usually don't have a whole lot of cash at this point. But the second step is here hiring Rop on the Mihan High Road. This is basically where we fight the Chocobo Eater, and I love Rop. I think that he's one of the strongest players in the game. He's got the highest attack stat of anybody, and so I use him as a midfielder. But all right, so the next step here, we're jumping ahead. Obviously, we're in Guadosalam, and honestly, this is where I play the bulk of my games at. I should also state that Jamal is not a bad pickup as well, and Luca he makes an okay goalie for quite a while, and it's actually probably a decent idea to grab him and dump Keepa. Keepa just isn't that great, but. I just didn't bother. I guess, for one thing, I should say, my goalie is not the most important, or it's not a very important position in my opinion anyway. So generally I don't worry about him. But anyways, the one thing that I did here was to show you guys that, so the first league that I rolled, you can see the first prize there was like a 3 stars, and this time it's a dark matter. Basically, if you're not happy with your league prizes, you can do a soft reset, which is annoying and gets really old. But you can do that to re-roll those league prizes. But anyway, so I actually just started here with my first match here, and again, this is like chronologically speaking, this is in Guadosalam. I do that because if you start playing Blitzball immediately, there's a chance that other teams will grab Rop on you, and that'd be kind of a disaster because he's just so good. And so again, I wait to play my first game all the way up until we get into Guadosalam. But these are the characters that I've got available right now. Again, I did mention Jamal. I kind of actually wish I would have shown where he's specifically at, but he's kind of on the way out of Luca. He's just sitting down kind of in the square, but it's questionable whether or not you really need him. I guess I just grabbed him, I don't know, to replace my goalie. But again, I don't know. I think in hindsight, it's just that, or I just don't know that it really matters that much because the goalie is so unimportant. It's rare for the enemy players to be making shots on my goal because the rest of the team is so strong that they don't the enemy players don't have the ball for very long. So yeah, I mean, even that said, Keepa's not too bad. And I should say, I eventually make Wedge my goalie. Wedge is the second best goalie in the game next to Nimruk. Nimruk is the best, but Nimruk will not be available for a long time, and so I like to play, I think, Blitzball now, and I think it's, the later that you play Blitzball, the less benefit you get out of it, and so I don't even really love waiting this long, but I didn't have a choice because I like the Guado players so much. But anyways, this is kind of how I play. Here, this one isn't that great of an example because the Ronso players are so slow. But I take Rop down. He usually takes the tip off, and then I go straight down to the bottom of the pool and try to swim around the side, and then I pass up to Titus, and then generally I score. Now that time I had a completely open goal, no defenders, trying to get in my way. But if I ever do have defenders there, I'll just use Jack Shot. And that's why I actually think Titus is the best forward in the entire game, and I just don't even bother with anybody else because he can, zip right up into the front of the goal, use Jack Shot, and basically, end up with a goal every single time. It's pretty rare. Every once in a while, you'll get a third defender in your way, and that'll make it'll make it so that Titus probably has to break a tackle, one of them, and then use check shot. But I don't ever that never really ended up being that big of a deal. But anyway, so that's the end of the first match, and then I had to renew my contracts, which at this point I did have more money, built up, and so I extend those contracts a little bit longer. But anyways, here I just threw in the footage of when I obtained the attack reels. So the attack reels is a first place tournament prize, and that's an overdrive for Waka. That's a unique prize, and so once you get that, it'll never pop up again. But yeah, so there it is. Pretty easy to come across. That should be the first of what is it? I think it's technically 3 overdrives that Waka will be able to learn via Blitzball, and that's the only way that he can get those. So very important to do that. So at this point, I think I was close to some of my Guado players becoming available. So generally what I did there was I kept kind of peeking out and seeing how many games they had left on their contracts. And once you get down to a single game left, then you want to go and save your game and then go try an exhibition game and then just forfeit it immediately. And then at that point, all the characters' contracts will, I guess, will expire if they only had one game left. And then they'll either be rehired or they'll become free agents. And so that's the method that I go about this. Now, Pa is probably the worst of all of the Guado. Well, of the players that I pick up from the Guados, Pa is probably the worst, but she's also extremely cheap. She makes she plays for basically peanuts, and not the biggest reason why I pick her up, but I do like she's got a pretty decent attack stat, a really good block stat. She's okay for speed, and I always use her as a defender. So yeah, and so I usually pick her up, or I at least at this time around I picked her up first. Now here's Nav. I'm gonna pick him up as well. He's got 8 games left, and then here is Auda. Auda has 4 games left, and so again, this will be the same thing here. What I'll do is I'll go inside save, and then I'll play 3 games, right? And so that there's only 1 left for Auda, and then at 1 game, I will go and do an exhibition match and then just forfeit it immediately, and then that contract should be up, and hopefully the Glories don't pick Auda back up, and so then she'll become a free agent, and then I'll hire her. I'll be honest though, I did this in a really silly way, honestly. Instead of doing an exhibition match as that for their final game, I was actually doing like tournament matches, and that was not smart, because it ended up being a big waste of time, because oftentimes, and I think what happened to me was I was waiting on, it must have been Nav, I think it was, and I did a tournament game instead of just an exhibition, and the Guado Glories rehired him and extended his contract, and so at that point I had to reset my game, and I had wasted 10 minutes on a Blitzball game. So again, it was not smart to do it that way. Here also, this was a weird decision. I think it was just because I was rusty. And so what I did here was I had Tech Find, and I used it on Titus, but that was kind of a waste. And the reason why I say that is because Titus actually never needs Tech Find, as long as you learn your key techniques. Titus is one of the rare players in the game that will open up every single slot so that with some exceptions, every skill will become learnable, which again makes it so that you actually don't need to use Tech Find, which also, by the way, is a really poorly named skill, or poorly named tech, because it doesn't actually find the tech for you. It opens up slots where a technique wouldn't probably normally be learnable. But anyways, I think I had to extend my contract there with, was it Letty, for a couple of games, as I was playing more and more games here, trying to whittle down the contracts that these Guado players had. I had to hang on to some of the original, I guess, players that I had. So yeah, here you can see Auda is now down to 3 games on her contract, and so there I went and saved. I played 2 games. I came back. Okay, so now she's at 1 game left on her contract, and again, as I stated earlier, there, what you'll want to do at that point is to save your game, and then go start an exhibition match, and just forfeit it right away. Now, I just think that that's the best way to do that when you're kind of headhunting, right? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to play a full, tournament match and then just have the AI extend the contract of the player that you're trying to get. So, and here again, that's exactly what I did. I just didn't do this smart. I don't know why I did a tournament match, but I got lucky there, and the AI didn't rehire Auda. And so I was able to pick her up. And now, at this point, I let Jasu go because there wasn't a reason to, rehire him, as I, didn't have a need for him, I guess, anymore. So again, yeah, let him go, and then we'll head on up and hire Auda. And that'll be, 2 of the 3 Guado Glory players now that will be playing for us, or me, and we'll do this, one last time with Nav. So here, Auda is, I would say of the 3 Guado players, Auda is like the second best. Her stats are just even a little bit better than Pa Guado's, but really good attack stat, really good passing stat, and really good block, which I highly value. I value block very, very high. And the reason for that is because if you've got a really good block stat, it will either force the enemy players to try to tackle, or to try to I guess, survive a tackle. Whereas, like, if you've got somebody with a really bad block stat, well, then they can just pass by you or shoot through you. So again, I like to force the tackle, and then by forcing a tackle, they are vulnerable to Nap and Wither, and I suppose maybe in some cases Venom. So that's just kind of my thought process as to why I hire the people I do. So there I learned, what was it, Drain Tackle 2, which is a key technique for Titus. Unfortunately, the Guado Glories rehired Nav, and so then I just ended up resetting my game. And again, that precisely right there, that is why I don't recommend playing, full duration match games when you're trying to headhunt, right? When we're trying to hire somebody. It just doesn't make any sense to play a full game and then have to reset your game immediately after. So again, play an exhibition game and then just forfeit. But here is where it happened, correctly, and that looks like that was a league game that I played. So again, same criticism of myself there is don't do that. It doesn't make sense. Play an exhibition match, forfeit, and hopefully your player will become available. So. Anyways, that is that. Now Nav has become a free agent, and so finally I am able to run up and grab him. I played with my 3 Guado players, and I took them all the way up to level 99 myself. I never released any of them. I did release Wedge very briefly, so that he could get high risk. That was probably not a bad idea, although I just think maybe it probably would have been even better to just let the AI level him instead of, leveling him myself. Though it worked out okay. It was just, honestly, it probably was a little pointless to level him. I probably should have just leveled my other players, and then had a different goalie for a little while and then rehired him later. Because again, for me, he was just dead weight. I didn't use him for anything, and I needed a goalie, or I wanted a goalie, and I don't know. I guess that's just how it played out. And all right, so anyways, here's Nav at level 90, or level 9, and I don't know. I thought that leveling most of my players was actually fairly easy using the pass method. This looks like, was this status reels? So this was a, oh, so this was another tournament. And, yeah, that was, let's see here. Pretty sure this is status reels, right? Nope, I'm sorry, that's Check Shot 2. So Check Shot 2, the requirements for that is for him, I believe, to have Check Shot 1, and then you, well, actually, I take that back. I don't know if Check Shot 1 is actually a requirement. It might not be. I'm not sure. But I think Titus does have a level requirement, though. It's probably something like, I don't know, I could have swore I read level 16 or something like that. So I'll be honest, I never even used Check Shot 2. It's a great tech. It knocks away 3 defenders and adds 10 to your shot rating. Here, Nimruk, oh man, I forgot to mention this earlier. So, when Nimruk's original contract expired, the Albad Sykes didn't pick him back up. And, okay, there's status reels, by the way. Let's see what status reels is. Status reels is a league, first place prize. And the requirement is to have attack reels and to have already participated in 250 or more battles. So, you know, if your status reels isn't popping up and you have attack reels, that means that you haven't got into enough battles yet. So kind of a little bit of a Final Fantasy VII, you know, battle. Well, no, yeah, no, it was. Was it battles or was it kills? No, I think it was kills in Final Fantasy VII. Okay, so bad reference. My bad. But yeah. Anyways, let's see. What did we get for this tournament? Okay, tech. This is a tech find. Okay. Let's just see. So I used this on Nav. This is funny. Yeah. So I opened up a slot for high risk. So normally Nav cannot learn high risk in any way. Outside of using tech find first, because that slot never opens up for Nav even after you've got his 3rd key technique, and that is, you know, how you open up other slots to expand your tech list is by learning your key techniques. But again, Nav actually will never have that slot opened up even after you've learned all of his key techniques. It's funny, I never ended up doing anything with that. I didn't release him, which would have been the best way to have him learn high risk, but I just never ended up doing that, and I took him all the way to 99 myself. So here is another reward here. This is the Auroch Reels. Auroch Reels is a tournament first prize, and the requirements are to have status reels, and then also participate in 450 or more battles. So, you know, again, same deal. If you're trying to get that and it's not popping up, well, it's probably because you haven't fought enough battles. But yeah, you know, definitely gonna need to grab that at some point. Right. Yeah. So, all right. At this point now, I do have all of Waka's overdrives here. I think technically attack reels. Is attack reels his best one? I think it might be his best one. Like that one has the highest potential for damage, if I'm remembering correctly. Just, I don't know, maybe not that important, but kind of an interesting thing to know, I suppose. Alright, so Jupiter Crest. I don't know why I went into my inventory here and took a look at that, but that's the one found in the Auroch locker room. And then here's the Jupiter Sigil, which I think the requirement here is to have all of, yeah, so it's to have Auroch Reels. So basically you have to get all of Waka's overdrives first, and then that'll open up the Jupiter Sigil as a league first place prize. So, yeah, there here I just obviously I cut out all of my wins. There's the Jupiter Sigil, and so at this point, we've gotten everything or obtained everything from Blitzball that we honestly really need. There's some other really good prizes. I would say probably the best thing to get from Blitzball is probably the teleport spheres. Those are a league first place prize, and It allows you to teleport, I think it's anywhere or to any node that's been previously activated by another player. Here is high risk, by the way. I think that so high risk is an extremely rare league second place reward. I think that honestly, it's really only worthwhile to get it that way, to teach Titus high risk. I think that the rest of your characters, I mean, other than probably Waka too, it probably, if you really want high risk on Waka, that's the only way that Waka can get it as well. But if you want to teach it to your other players, it's better to just use probably Tech Find if you need to. My guess is a lot of the players you need to use Tech Find to get that. But then also it's to release that player and let the AI hire that player and then rehire them later. But I didn't end up doing that with anybody other than Wedge, and I don't know, it was questionable how much I really needed to do that anyway. I think that having the AI level, some of your characters is probably better. I mean, passing gets really old really quickly, and so probably just like if you recognize that some of your players have kind of fallen behind on levels, it probably is a better idea to just release them for a little while and then have the AI level them for you. It's just the whole process is extremely time consuming. There was, I don't know, I guess I just left in some footage of teaching Rop Golden Arm. I never ended up using that on him anyway. I don't really like Golden Arm as a tech. It seems okay because it lets you pass farther, or you lose pass a little bit less, and also your shots will lose less kind of momentum, right, as well, as they travel longer distances. But specifically for passes, I don't really find that to be that useful anyway. I think that most of the time you're going to be fine, even if one of the other or the enemy players has got a hand on the ball. Usually you're still not going to fumble it, and so usually techs like that where they're so situational, I guess I kind of just try to avoid. Specifically for most of the players. So other than Titus and Wedge, I have all of my defenders set up essentially the same way with Nap Pass 3, Nap Tackle 3, Anti-Nap 2, and then Elite Defense and Brawler. And so that just doesn't leave any room for techs like, Golden Arm. So that's kind of that's the way I at least set up. I just really kind of prefer that route. I like the Nap, tackles and passes because I think that Nap is the most devastating of the stat effects. You can make I think you can make a pretty good case for Wither as well, and maybe like Pile Wither because reducing the enemy stats at least lasts a while, whereas when you use Nap and you make enemy players fall asleep, whenever you score, they wake back up, and so Nap doesn't last the whole match, whereas Wither does carry over after you've already scored. But I don't know. I would rather just use the Nap techniques and put the enemy players to sleep, and I don't know. I just prefer that route, and honestly, most of this, like at least this team is kind of they feel so overpowered that it's rare for the enemy players to be able to get the ball and then to even do anything with it. So, I guess that said, it doesn't really matter that much what techniques I even have really equipped. All right, so let's take a look at my end game team. I mean, I'm completely done probably playing Blitzball. I don't think that I'll even bother playing anymore, but all right, so let's take a look. So Titus here, he's level 99 here. The techniques I've got on him still are actually Jet Shot 1. It's kind of up to you if you feel like you need to put Jet Shot 2 on. But I use Jet Shot 1 the entire game. Anyway, so nap pass 3, nap tackle 3. So a lot, oftentimes the enemy midfielder will make a beeline right to Titus. Um, Probably because my other forward has a really good attack and block stat, which is Nav Guado. And so oftentimes they'll make a beeline for Titus to try to get into an encounter with him first, and then after that they'll try to either pass to somebody or dribble and and probably try to avoid Rop, because Rop is my midfielder. And so that's why I think it's important to at the very least, have nap tackle 3. You want to get some tackles in on that midfielder if they try to do an encounter with you. Otherwise, they may just try to pass by him, which then there's not much that you can do about that because Titus only has a block rating of 19. I mean, that's pretty bad. I also have Anti-Venom 2 there. That's pretty important too, because again, let's just say that midfielder zips right over to Titus right away and then uses a Venom pass to try to get the ball by him and get him poisoned. Well, if Titus gets poisoned, then you can't use Jack Shot, and that kind of, it won't entirely shut him down as far as scoring, but it can make scoring a lot more difficult. If you have to actually break the tackles in order to score, that's a problem. Or if you're trying to shoot by a defender that's got a decent block rating, it's going to be hard for you to score. So I just go with Anti-Venom 2 to make sure that Jack Shot is always going to be able to be used. And then Anti-Nap 2 because, getting put to sleep is, again, absolutely devastating. So here I did actually, excuse me, I taught all of the abilities that, Titus can possibly learn. He can't learn Anti-Drain 1. Basically, Titus and Waka can't learn that skill because there's like a bug or something in the game. But Tackle Slip 2 is also a pretty decent technique to potentially be using on Titus. If I was going to equip that, I would probably use it in place of Anti-Venom 2. The problem with that is it's not always going to be effective. And then it's also sort of redundant. If you're using Jack Shot, you don't need to break tackles, or even Jack Shot 2. Jack Shot 2 is going to be able to completely break or get around 3 defenders, and so you just don't need to try to survive tackles, and so Tackle Slip ends up being redundant. So again, that's your choice though. If you wanna go that route instead, that at least you can make a good case for that. So let's talk Nav. Here's Nav at 99. Again, I use him as my other forward. So let's see here. 65 endurance. That's not that great. His pass stat is decent. With a 65 shot doesn't matter because he's never going to shoot. His speed though, 84. That's incredibly fast. Nav is one of the faster players in the game. And then attack of 54 is pretty decent for I would consider him a defender. And then block of 82. I think Nav has the best block rating of any player in the game, which is fantastic. So my opinion on block is it's one of the best or most important stats in the game because with a high enough block rating, you're going to shut down. Like, let's just say somebody's trying to shoot. Well, that means that it's pretty much gonna force them into an encounter because that enemy player is gonna want to get past Nav first before they try to shoot. So it forces an encounter, which means it's gonna force them into taking a Nap Tackle 3, and that's gonna potentially put them to sleep unless they've got anti-nap. So that again, I think that the block is one of the more important stats in the entire game, and so Nav, is I guess peerless when it comes to that stat. And then so that's how I've got him set up as well. So Nap Tackle 3, Nap Pass 3, same deal. If you get the ball, well, using a Nap Pass by an enemy, potentially puts them to sleep. But also we don't want to get slept, so Anti-Nap 2, and then Elite Defense and Brawler. That's going to make it so that Nav can track down the goal or the ball carrier faster and participate in encounters from farther away. and so that's going to force the enemy ball carrier to deal with Nav. So that is how I've got him set up. The rest of his techs don't really matter. I did open up a slot for him for a high risk, but I never ended up, getting rid of him, and so that he could learn it. Rop is my beastly midfielder. I always use him as a midfielder. I know some people use him as a defender, but I want him participating in every single encounter that he possibly can, and so putting him in the center makes that more likely. So his endurance isn't that great. You don't really want to take encounters with him, but it doesn't really matter because his pass rating is so high. So he's got a 96 there, which means there's a really good chance or you're going to be able to you're going to be able to pass by at least one defender with that. So also speed is not that great, but I don't really care. He's he's a midfielder and he's fast enough. He's not like we're not talking whatchamacallit, we're not talking Ronso level speeds here. And then that attack rating of 73. This guy is built to steal the ball from other players. So again, in having an attack stat that high is probably going to force them into trying to pass by him, which is where the 53 block comes in. There are a lot of centers in the game like Svanda or Varroa who have really good pass stats, but he'll hack down a lot of that with that 53 block. Again, same setup as Nav, Nap Tackle 3, Nap Pass 3, Anti-Nap 2, Elite Defense, and Brawler. I'm not going to speak more about those. Auda. Alright, so here's Auda. 57 passes, pretty good. And then speed is 72, so she's a little bit slower than Nav, but still really fast. Which is going to get her to the ball carrier a little bit faster, potentially get her into encounters more often. Attack of 57, which is actually higher than Nav, and a really important stat in my opinion for defenders. Again, that's going to either force them into, they really don't want to, it's going to be tough for a lot of characters to survive an attack, which means they're either going to try to shoot through Oda or pass around her, which is where that block comes in at of 78. And again, good luck. There's a lot of characters that aren't going to be able to deal with Oda's block stat. Same setup: Nap Tackle 3, Nap Pass 3, Anti-Nap 2, Elite Defense, and Brawler. So let's talk Pa. Pa, same, pretty much the same thing as Auda. So this is my other defender. Passive 58, which is pretty good. Speed of 69. That's higher than average, but not like phenomenal. But again, higher than average. 53 attack, which is pretty good for a defender, but where she really shines is again her block stat of 75. And again, same rationale as like Auda. Having such a high block stat means that it's going to be really tough to either shoot through or pass through Pa. And again, same setup: Nap Tackle 3, Nap Pass 3, Anti-Nap 2, Elite Defense, and Brawler. And then lastly, Wedge. Wedge is this guy is so weird. He starts out with a 17 shot rating, and then it goes up by a little bit, and then he regresses back to his level 1 shot stat, which is always kind of funny. But at the beginning of the game, he starts out as an okay forward, but honestly, I just don't like leveling Wedge. And honestly, now that I've kind of done or gone through all of this again, I would say that what you really want to do is, honestly, Wedge, I only use Wedge as a goalie, and he's not good as a goalie for 90% of the game. Probably at the very end, like level 90, he becomes at least somewhat usable. There's even probably still goalies that might be a little bit better at that point, but excuse me, from 90 to 99, he's the second best. I should say at 99, he's the second best goalie in the game. Nimruk is the only one that's better than him. There's other characters that are pretty close. I know there's at least one goalie, I can't think of his name, but has a 60 catch. But again, I think that Wedge as a goalie is only an end game, choice. And I only use him also because I don't have access to Nimruk, because I play all of my games basically right as we get to Guadalajara. And so, again, I think, honestly, the goalie is the least important position in the entire game, as long as you've got, a strong offense and, maybe even a little bit of a passable defense. But if Titus is able to get to the goal basically every time you get the goal and score, it's going to be tough for the enemy team to do anything, about it and be able to beat you. You can weather, shots as long as you're just outscoring them. And so that I would argue is why the goalie position is probably the least important in the entire game. A lot of the game, I had like one of my defenders with a catch rating of 10 in my goal, but if the enemy is not players aren't able to even take shots on you because your defense is so good, then who cares, right? And again, that's kind of the way that it played out. But anyways, that is it. That is my team. I am completely done playing Blitzball at this point. I think that this is the best time really to do it. And also one of the best things that you can get out of here is the teleport spheres. Let me see if I can. Here they are. So I've got 7 right now. Those are a league first place reward, so that maybe kind of gives you at least some idea of how many leagues I completed. And why is that? Well, it lets you put evade and counter on your weapons. I've already got a weapon that has that, but here it is. It only takes 1 teleport sphere. Evade and counter is very, very good. It evades the physical attack and counter attacks. So that's one of the best rewards that comes out of Blitzball. Also, it does let you I'll show you this. So it lets you teleport around. So move to any node activated by an ally. So let's just say you're kind of done with Yuna's route, which I'm still a ways off. But at that point, once you get to a certain point or wherever you want to get to, you can actually teleport over. Let's just say I want to teleport over to get Steel. I could teleport to Steel right now and teach Yuna Steel. And then on top of that, one of the funny things here is that I could actually use the return sphere to get back to wherever she was at. So the combination, and it's also kind of funny too, because a lot of the times for the league, the first place prize will be the teleport sphere, and then the high score reward will be the return sphere. And so you can do one 10 round league and end up with this combination of spheres. So very, very cool. And honestly, again, I think that's the best rewards for Blitzball, I suppose, other than attack reels, status reels, that sort of thing. But anyway, again, that's basically it. That's my team. That's kind of how I like to set up my team. And this is the first time I've ever taken my entire team all the way up to level 99, and I was really happy with this team. So that is all I've got. As always, I hope this guide was helpful, and hope you join me for more videos. Thanks for watching.